Well, another very warm welcome back, all my vintage dirt bike loving YouTubers, and thanks to you all once more for returning to Classic Dirt Bike TV, and a very special hello to the many subscribers who have signed up since my last video posting, so welcome aboard. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the Ford videos that I posted from the Vets MXDN from Farleigh Castle in 2011. Now I do have some more videos from that event from different years, so I may post more racing from that Farleigh Castle event later here on my YouTube channel. But it's now back to the bread and butter of my video channel. We're going to start showcasing some more classic race bikes, and we have a few Maicos coming up in the next 2 or 3 postings, and we're going to kick off with our first bike, and we're going to take a look at Iain Clark's S1 Maico only 490. Now, this featured bike belonging to Scottish rider Iain Clark is another one of those remanufactured 490 Maico S1s that was built by Maico Only in the UK some years ago. Now, when Maico Only were in business in the UK, they did build some really nice looking bikes using remanufactured parts and also Maico original old stock parts to put these machines together. Now, these bikes weren't cheap at the time, and sometimes they even cost in excess of what a brand new Honda or Yamaha modern machine would have set you back then, but they were still a very nice bit of kit, and with a bit of fettling they could be made into a very good competitive race bike. And these 490 S1s also came in a multitude of different colours, but I must admit this stock red colour that Iain's chosen is certainly in keeping with the old tradition of the 490 Maico Twinshockers of the 1980s. Now, these S1 490 two-stroke engines are based around the 1983-84 models, which of course don't have that troublesome primary chain that were fitted to the older 81 motor that connected the crankshaft and clutch, because this part of the engine on this later version is of course now connected by gears rather than a chain. But nevertheless, these 490 power plants are still as good as the earlier 81 motors, and if it's grunt and raw power you're after, then these reed valve two-strokers certainly have plenty on tap, and even more in reserve if you need it. Now, once again, no traditional Bing carburetor fitted to this motor. A much more modern Mikuni has been substituted in its place to feed that massive cylinder through the V-Force reed valve block. Although there of course was absolutely nothing wrong with the standard Bing carburetor on these motors, it's just that many owners did find these more modern Mikunis much easier to set up. Now, the bike's front forks are your standard Maico suspension units, and as I remember, I think these were 42mm stanchions that were air assisted through Schrader valves on the top of the forks, and these were of course bolted onto the standard Maico drum brakes. Now, on the rear of the bike, a set of suspension units that sometimes reflected the heavy price tags of these machines, and a top of the range pair of Öhlins piggybacks will certainly be a much better option than the pretty poor parts that were fitted to the rear of some of these earlier Maico models back in the day. Now, also gone of course is the heavy steel swing arm of the older bikes, and this nice alloy replacement is I think a Thor item, which will certainly be lighter than the standard part. Although, having said that, I know many owners who have fitted alloy swing arms to their 490s and then went back and removed them because they had cracks appearing on them, and have now changed back to the much heavier and stronger standard steel swing arm. Now the bike's exhaust expansion chamber is again a manufactured Maico only replacement for the original pipe, although occasionally the MO company would chrome these parts of the bike to make them much more appealing, although Iain's example here has kept its original metal patina, thankfully. And once again on the tailpipe of the bike, a nice alloy PFR or Proform Racing N-can has been bolted on to the back of that expansion chamber. But Maico only, to be fair, did manufacture some nice bespoke parts for these bikes, including billet alloy top and bottom fork yokes and alloy CNC machined front and rear brake back plates. And they also made some nice alloy rear brake levers and CNC machined rear chain guides, which were all very good quality parts and certainly added to the overall look of what is essentially a very nice looking Twinshock race bike. Now I know that many of the Maico purists out there are not too keen on these types of remanufactured interpretations of the great Maico name, and these days you see much the same thing happening with the old CCM bikes and even more recently with the Czechoslovakian CZ motocrossers. But despite that, the bike's fuel tank here is your standard plastic Maico fuel cell with of course the new Maico only S1 graphics and a new alloy fuel tap fixed below. Now the seat once again is a pretty standard 80s 490 seat and was by all accounts quite a good place to rest your backside on when you ever got the chance, of course, between turning and burning this big Twinshock rocket ship. But this particular S1 490 was actually the second race machine that Iain bought from the MO factory, because initially he bought a remanufactured 1974 400 GP bike, which you can catch a glimpse of in this picture. And I already have a short video of this lovely machine on my YouTube channel, but we'll take another look at this little bike next on my channel. Now sadly I don't think Maico only are still trading here in the UK, but when they were at their peak they were producing some very nice looking Twinshock racers, not the cheapest in the land of course, but they were still very nice looking machines. But of course you have to remember that original examples of any old dirt bikes from the past are getting increasingly harder to find these days, and maybe by utilising and combining a combination of new and old manufacturing is maybe the way to go to preserve the memories of these iconic pieces of motocross history. Well, I hope you enjoyed having a look there at Iain Clark's quite nice Maico only S1 490 Twinshocker. Not of course an original bike from back in the day, but very few of these S1s are original machines, but quite a nice bike and certainly worthy of a quick look here on my channel. But coming up in my next video posting, we'll be taking a look at another one of Iain Clark's nice looking machines, and this time we'll take a look at this 1974 GP 400 Maico only bike that was built by the UK factory, so we'll take a look at that in our next video posting. But until then, of course, everybody continue to be safe and well, and we'll all get together quite soon to speak about more old vintage racers right here on Classic Dirt Bike TV.